Good evening, race fans, and welcome here to Kentucky Speedway for tonight's Kentucky 150 here on the Pit Pass Network ARCA series. My name is Robert Hill Jr. Joining me, as always, is the Idaho Potato himself, Wyatt Knadle. Wyatt, how's it going, buddy?
Well, man, I'm doing pretty good, but after that intro, I'm going to have to second guess our friendship here. Side note, I'm an Oregonian currently living in Idaho, but nonetheless, we're at Kentucky, so it doesn't matter where we're from right now.
That's exactly right. Nobody cares where we're from, what we're doing, except that we're here doing a bit of racing at Kentucky Speedway. Tonight's event, as you see on your screen here, 100 laps, no stages, just two sets of tires in the pits, one on the cars for a total of 3 sets of tires here tonight. Taking a look at our starting grid, William Wyatt all the way from the UK on the pole, Jay Kaner on his outside there, Chris Wright and Trey Holmes, row number 2, Ethan Stanley, the guy that just seems to be winning everything there, row number 3, alongside Money Jim, Cash James there in 6th, Michael Hossack, Hunter Smith, row 4, Brandon Ultra, Mark Murphy rounding out the top 10. Wyatt, why don't you take us through the rest of the field here?
Happily, Robert. In 11th position, we have Jordan Owens, Robert Higgins on his outside, Justin Vander, lots of different things in 13th, David Dunwoody in 14th, Mark Keeler 15th, David Carpenter in the 16th position, Ray Bracey in 17th, and leading the field from the back is Rory Collins in 18th.
Yeah, we will have some end of the longest line penalties due to banner violations. Cash James, Trey Holmes among those going to the rear. Another thing to watch here tonight, only 3 races remaining here in Season 1 of the Pit Pass Network ARCA Series. Chris Wright is your current points leader by 13 points over Ethan Stanley. William Wyatt still up in the mix there, about just under 40 points behind in position 3. Mark Murphy is 4th. He is going to start 7th tonight, so Mark Murphy looking for an opportunity to move up. Hunter Smith there in 5th. Jay Kaner, Ray Bracey, Jordan Owens, Jess Story, Michael Hossack up in the top 10. And the story here tonight, Jess Story has announced that he is going to be taking a break from elite racing competition, so we will not see him here tonight, and probably not for the rest of the season, unfortunately. So we will not see Jess Story, but what we will see is a little bit of green flag action here as the pace car just made the turn off of the racetrack. We're going to hand it down to Barney the Flagman. Green flag in hand, waiting for the field to enter the Geico restart zone here. Green flag is out, and we are underway. William Wyatt leading the field to green here tonight, Wyatt.
Yeah, most definitely. And right off the bat, you got to see who's right behind him in both 3rd and 4th now, I believe. It's Ethan Stanley, Chris Wright nose to tail to start this race. Couldn't be any more fitting for the current points situation, Robert.
Absolutely not. As we look a little bit further back here, we see David Dunwoody making a move to the bottom of Mark Murphy there in his number 28 machine. David Dunwoody currently scored his up 8 positions. That's because we have a lot of guys that took end of longest line penalties tonight due to banner, including Justin Vandermarl, Dave Carpenter, Ray Bracey, Mark Keeler, Trey Holmes, Rory Collins, and Cash Money Jim back there. William Wyatt is your race leader, but one thing, Wyatt, that we did not do before the race tonight is make our race picks. So Wyatt, why don't you go get us started here with your pick to take victory here tonight in the Kentucky 150. Oh, William Wyatt stepping out just a little bit there.
I actually want to pass that back to you. I want you to have first dibs on the commentator's curse tonight.
Oh, I don't like that you just did that to me, because last week I absolutely cursed this man right here, Michael Hossack, having a hell of a run last week and went right into the pit barrels. So, you know what? Just to make things interesting in the points, I'm going to curse this man tonight. I'm going to curse Chris Wright in the number 42 machine. He's going to get it done or end up on his lid tonight.
All right. Well, with that being said, Robert, I am going to take the other evil. I'm going to take the 91 and 90 Ethan Stanley. You know, let's just make it as interesting as possible.
It's definitely interesting. Both of our picks here in the one shot. Chris Wright, and Ethan Stanley. There's a couple other guys that I thought about taking here, but I really don't want to curse them. I just want them to have a real good shot at victory tonight, including this man right here, William Wyatt. He's done so well this season, and I would love to see him find a way into victory lane later on tonight as he continues to lead over Jake Kaner, Chris Wright, Ethan Stanley, and Hunter Smith. These guys have pulled away a little bit, actually quite a bit, from David Dunwoody, Brandon Ultra, Mark Murphy, Michael Hosek. Side-by-side battle here, Dunwoody and Ultra. Ultra not able to get the pass done. He falls back in line. See Robert Higgins there, Jordan Owens, Justin Vandermarl running my number tonight, the number 05. So pretty cool to see Justin out there in the number 05. Wish we could have got him a livery made up for tonight, but the designer was a little bit busy, so we could not get that done. But back up front, William Wyatt doing the job that everyone knows he can do.
Ethan Stanley sliding in the center of 3 and 4. Sorry about that. Holy cow.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that one again here on the Robiles Photography replay machine. See what happened with Ethan Stanley going to make a pass on Chris Wright. You can look here. He looks high. Not able to do it. Chris Wright barely grabs the apron. Ethan Stanley goes up top to make the pass. Able to do it. And then the car steps out on him. Nearly gets into Chris Wright. And does a great job of saving that car. Those guys continue on in 3rd and 4th respectively. As I see a battle here, Michael Hosek, Robert Higgins side by side, Jordan Owens joining the battle. That is a battle for the 9th and 10th position. As you see behind them, Jordan Owens and Justin Vandermarl in the mix as well. Wyatt, have you done much racing here at Kentucky Speedway?
To be honest with you, I've done a little bit, not a whole lot. We have Hossack in the wall, and it looks like Ray Bracey followed him up in there, actually.
Michael Hossack, heavy damage on the right side there. Michael running that plain black livery there with the Jeff Gordon style number 24 numbers, and the right side is absolutely torn up on that machine, as we just saw Cash James go by him there in the number 23. But sorry, Wyatt, back to you and your experience here at Kentucky.
Yeah, one thing this track is really known for is how fun 1 and 2 is, how incredibly uncomfortable turns 3 and 4 are. If you miss what you're trying to get in 3 and 4, where you're trying to go, and it's typically going to be in the bottom 2 lanes, if you can't get it down there, you're going to have a whale of a time through that corner. You're going to lose a lot of speed, and you'll see some huge runs all night with guys getting underneath other cars in 3 and 4.
That is a great analysis of this racetrack. This place always holds a special spot in my heart as we see Ethan Stanley get by Jake Kaner. Now Chris Wright battling with Jake Kaner. That's for 3rd here. This is actually the site of my first iRacing league race about 11 years ago now, a league called the OCRL. I was sponsored by Smoke Racing Designs, John Dragonetti, who actually now works for Front Row Motorsports in the NASCAR Cup Series. He was my sponsor. He got me out there. I'd owned a team for about a year. We'd won a lot of races, won some championships, but then he decided I was going racing, so made the debut here at Kentucky, grabbed a top 10, and this place has always been special to me since.
Well, that's a pretty fun little tidbit, and I believe you were racing on old Kentucky surface, weren't you?
Oh, we were definitely racing on old Kentucky here, as this place looks much nicer. One thing I've noticed here, Wyatt, and I don't know if you've noticed as well, Ethan Stanley, the rear end of that machine just really wants to step out here tonight. He's coming off these corners and just going for a bit of a slide every time.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how he's able to keep that thing gathered as this run goes on. You know, we're still very early in this run, but another thing to keep note of is last week we saw William Wyatt take off early, lead a bunch of laps, and it's almost like the track or the way the car was handling drastically changed on him, and he wasn't able to keep the pace that he originally had. And that brought some of these guys like Ethan Stanley and Chris Wright back up to the front, and we know how that ended.
This is close right here, Wyatt. David Dunwoody, Robert Higgins, side by side for the 9th position. Both of those guys were not set up very well for the corner. Nearly got into each other, but Higgins able to get that spot. I apologize for cutting you off there, but things were getting a little hairy as Ray Bracey now looking to make a pass on David Dunwoody.
Yeah, we have a lot of talent going on here. A lot of talent on the track right now, and a lot of these guys might just be filling it out for now. We haven't seen a whole lot of aggressive moves yet, apart from Ethan Stanley doing his best Drift King impression. But, you know, we've got a group of cars here that just can't seem to get away from each other either. And Ray Bracey, after making contact with the wall behind Michael Hossack, is doing a pretty good job of working his way back up, flirting with the top 10.
As we look down on the racetrack, Ethan Stanley, Chris Wright battling side by side for the 2nd position there. Chris Wright and Ethan Stanley getting very close here. Just about some contact. They're able to avoid that potential melee out on the racetrack. But Chris Wright, Ethan Stanley continuing what they have done all season long by continuing to battle side by side. I keep saying continuing, but it has just been a continuous battle all season long.
Yeah, and it's one of those things I don't think we'll ever see anybody. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like the same guys are battling the same guys every week. It doesn't matter the track. We're seeing great competition, and, you know, we're seeing a similar story tonight. We've got Ethan Stanley and Chris Wright on top of each other. William White proven early in these races that he's really good and really fast, and man, it's just awesome to see. How many races in now? Is this race 8?
This is race number 8 of 10 here tonight, so getting down to the nitty gritty, Wyatt. Just a couple rounds to go after tonight. We do have a little bit of a break. Oh my gosh, these guys are getting so close. There's actually a battle here for the 4th position. Jay Kaner holding off the Hunter Smith machine. This is a nice battle for that spot right there. Jay Kaner's kind of struggled since the start here, and one thing to keep note of, this is the least amount of tires that we have given these guys all season long. They only have 2 sets in the pits tonight. Typically we have about 3 sets, so some of these guys may be trying to save they may be trying to save their tires a little bit, just see what they can do to be there at the end, as Ethan Stanley still holding off Chris Wright. We're going to take a look a little bit further back in the field. Looks like we have a battle between Cash James and David Dunwoody. Cash James to the outside of Dunwoody, trying to chase down Justin Vandermarl. Michael Hossack just in behind them here. Lap number 20 of 100, 1/5 of the way through this Kentucky 150. I do want to give a shout out to Cash James, coming up on his birthday here soon, and this is his home track, so he's hoping for a big night here tonight. Qualified fairly well up in the 8th position, but unfortunately no banner on that car. He sponsors the darn series, but can't get a banner on his car, and gets an EOL to the rear, trying to work his way back up. Currently 13th, and he has cleared Michael Hossack and David Dunwoody, setting his sights on Justin Vandermarl and Trey Holmes just ahead here. Wyatt, again, we're seeing the side-by-side between Ethan Stanley and Chris Wright here. Robert Higgins has, I do believe, parked for the night. Not sure if you can get us an update on that here, Wyatt, but we'll stand by for any sort of update. Oh, Chris almost comes up into Ethan Stanley there.
Yeah, and I was listening in on race control, and it seems like there's a little bit of issue with something Robert might have done that race control didn't like, and I think he got a warning. Ended up ignoring the warning and has been parked for the event. So that is interesting to say the least. Tough break for Robert. Not sure past that.
Okay, that is Wyatt Knadle with our in-race update on the Robert Higgins machine. He is done for the evening. One thing we just saw on the racetrack, Cash James did get by Justin Vandermarl. Now has his eyes set on Trey Holmes, driving the Intimidator car tonight there, the number 3 machine, up in the 10th position. Ray Bracey doing a nice job here so far, currently classified as your biggest mover, up 8 positions, not too far ahead of him. The next highest mover tonight actually is Hunter Smith, only up 4 spots, up to the 4th position. But you know, looking at guys like Trey Holmes, Cash James, they have gained a lot of spots here tonight because they had to start at the rear of the field. So that's something that unfortunately with the banner violation kind of eliminates them from the opportunity to be the biggest mover of the day. But either way, those guys have done a great job. And another guy that's done a great job, William White, he has led so far the first quarter of today's event, 25 laps in. And now that we are 25 laps in, we've stayed under green here, Wyatt. We are going to head to a commercial break here from some of our partners, pay some bills, and we'll be right back in just 2 minutes' time here on the Elite Racing Network.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
We are back here in the Kentucky 150, race number 8 of the Pit Pass Network ARCA series. That was our friends at TA Services as well as iRacing.com. TA Services, one of our great premier partners here in the Elite Racing League. Alongside Blue Egg Marketing, Blue Egg is the marketing department for small businesses, small business owners. Blue Egg is your biggest fan. Worldwide Technology Raceway is your home for motorsports with a 1.25-mile oval, 2-mile road course, a quarter-mile drag strip, as well as a state-of-the-art karting facility known as the Kartplex. Check out Worldwide Technology Raceway today for all your motorsport needs. And of course, Pit Pass Network is your new home for all things motorsports, from news to reviews and interviews. Check out pitpassnetwork.com today. Again, that is pitpassnetwork.com. And a fun fact about Pit Pass Network, Wyatt, a big milestone for the group. Of course, I am part of the Pit Pass Network team. This weekend at Atlanta, we will have our first credentialed reporter on site for that race. So, pretty big milestone for us, man.
Yes, congratulations. That is awesome to hear. I know a lot of good things are going on over there, and it seems like you guys are going to keep it up.
We're definitely trying. We're working hard. Cash James and the rest of the team has done a really good job, and we're just trying to put out good content, have some fun doing it, and I'm really excited for my buddy Jake to have the opportunity to cover his first race as a credentialed reporter this weekend. So be sure to follow Pit Pass Network for some updates there. One thing to point out, Chris Wright did get back by Ethan Stanley during our commercial break. These guys have separated a little bit. Stanley falling back towards 4th place. Hunter Smith here. Jay Kaner kind of out on his own in 5th. Back in 6th, we find Brandon Ultra, who's got a little bit of a gap as well. Back there, Mark Murphy just ahead of Jordan Owens. Trey Holmes and Ray Bracey rounding out the top 10. Cash James there in 11th. Michael Hosek, Justin Vandermarl in the 12th and 13th positions. David Dunwoody, Rory Collins rounding out the top 15. Dave Carpenter and Mark Keeler rounding out the 17 cars still on the racetrack. Robert Higgins was parked for the evening due to an unknown penalty that may be released later this week. Not too sure. But anyways, Robert Higgins out of the race as William White controlling the race here. 1/3 of the way through, still out front. He's led every single lap so far and done a great job doing it. You know, he hasn't really given up any time at all to Chris Wright or Ethan Stanley, no matter who's in second place. And a guy like William White just looking for his opportunity to try to get something done. He's worked so hard this season, run really well, and when it comes time to it at the end, just something always seems to go wrong for him. So hopefully for William White, this can be the night where he's able to finish things off. And one thing we didn't touch on earlier, by the way, Wyatt, was the fuel window these guys have here tonight. Looking at about 60 laps of fuel, so these guys can definitely do one stop. If a caution comes down at this point, of course, everyone will pit and try to get some tires and some fuel, which would make it a 2-stopper, but be very interesting to see at this point if anything happens here. A little bit of a battle brewing here. Cash James lost a few spots now behind Justin Vandermarl, as Vandermarl working the high side on the back straight. Looks like we have a cloud over the racetrack, which is making things a little dark. Of course, this is after noon time here. Started the race, I believe it was about 1 p.m. in the server, so still very early in the afternoon. Definitely not time for any lights to come on.
No, not. And you know, there are a couple battles on track, but one that's really starting to brew right now, Robert, is the battle for the lead, as well as Ethan Stanley and Hunter Smith. Don't get me wrong, but I've been looking at these lap times, and Chris Wright, the last lap or so, maybe 2 laps has broke even, but before that, he was able to gain about 2/10 over the course of 3 laps. So we'll have to see if he can continue doing that. With this cloud, it might make it a little more tricky for him.
Riding on that roll bar camera of the Chris Wright machine, great view out front. You can see the William White machine. What I'm noticing is William doesn't seem to have as much freedom on entry in his number 43 machine as he had earlier on. Kind of looking like a 2-step turn-in rather than a very fluid just curve throughout the corner. And that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, as well as these cars are starting to change their handling, and that could really affect if we stay under green or not. The battle's definitely brewing up for the 3rd position. 2.5 tenths still separating these leaders, but Hunter Smith is right on that rear end of Ethan Stanley for 3rd. Hunter Smith looking for his opportunity to jump to the bottom. We're going to jump up to our drone camera here, try to get some good footage of the pass that Hunter Smith is trying to set up here. 1.5 tenths now is the race lead difference. We're going to head back up there. Unfortunately, cannot stay on that Hunter Smith Ethan Stanley battles. I think Chris Wright maybe a lap or 2 away from trying to make this pass on William White. Chris Wright, another guy that's really been there the entire race all season long. He's only finished off the podium, I think, twice this season, and he's yet to pick up a victory. So Chris Wright looking for his opportunity to get it done tonight, and for his sake, obviously, I would love to see it, but you know, I just want these guys to battle it out all night long as we see Chris Wright side by side with William White.
Yeah, and he really pushed it out to his outside to maybe get an advantage here. They are close on each other through 3 and 4.
Oh, they're gonna make contact! William White gets into the door of Chris Wright, goes for a half slide down to the apron, able to gather it back up. Chris Wright now easily your race leader. William Wyatt falling back into the clutches of Ethan Stanley and Hunter Smith there. Gotta wonder if William Wyatt maybe has a bit of damage. We'll see if we can get a view of the right side as he heads into the corner.
Sorry, Chris got really loose off turn 2. He might be having a little bit of damage himself with how...
To be fair, I think Chris is fine. I think at this point, he's maybe just not used to being the leader at this racetrack, and the handling's definitely going to be a little bit different. Just looking at their lap times, Mark Keeler is about a half lap down, as is Dave Carpenter, so we shouldn't have to deal with lap traffic at all. About 18 laps away from that fuel window. Ethan Stanley just stepped out there, as you see Hunter Smith going to the bottom now. The handling of these race cars is gone. You have to wonder if maybe some of these guys are going to look at pitting a bit early. If we can make it on 60 laps, they are in their window to make it to the end. Obviously, no room for any sort of green-white checkers if they do pit right now, but these guys should probably start considering it, Chris.
Well,
Ethan Stanley in the wall.
And that might burn. I don't know. You might want to consider, depending on the damage here for Ethan, I wouldn't stay out too many more laps.
He has rubbed the numbers off of the side of that car a little bit. One thing I've noticed, now we have a battle, Rory Collins, David Dunwoody at the back. Dunwoody losing positions quite rapidly right now. I think his tires are gone. Cash James has lost a bunch of spots as well. Trey Holmes kind of staying stagnant right now, but just back up to these guys at the front. I think Ethan Stanley has to consider a trip down pit road sometime soon, because he definitely has some damage on the right side of that car. William Wyatt, as well as Hunter Smith, is preparing to make a pass on him within the next lap or two here on the racetrack.
Yeah, from Ethan's point of view, when you're sitting here looking at this field and you see Chris Wright leading this race, you have to do something different than he's doing. You can't let him win this race without a fight, especially with the way the points are going, as you see on your screen right now. Ethan needs to get back in this with just 2 races after this remaining, and he can. But he's really got to set the foundation in this race to make it to the end of the season and fight for this championship.
Absolutely correct there, Wyatt. One thing that you mentioned there is Ethan Stanley still has a chance at making it up to that points lead. Just 13 points back of Chris Wright, so anything can still happen, but he has to consider something different. He cannot follow what Chris Wright does all night long. He has to have a mind of his own here, as Hunter Smith looking to the inside of William Wyatt now. William Wyatt steps up the racetrack to the high side. Here comes Hunter Smith to the bottom. Hunter Smith to second place here. I don't think he'll be able to catch Chris Wright before we come down pit road, because that has to be coming soon, as we will wait for the pit cycle to begin here. 3 laps away from halfway, actually just about 54 laps remaining in this 100 lap event. Chris Wright coming around to take us down to 53 in his number 42 machine. Doing a nice job there. KMP Graphics Pit Pass Network on board of that car. As you can see, we do have another battle here. Mark Murphy on the inside of Rory Collins. Move Mark Murphy up into the 6th position. Brandon Ultra, I think I said Rory Collins, but Brandon Ultra there battling back on the high side. They are indeed side by side. Ultra getting the position back. Here comes Murphy to the bottom. These guys getting a little close on exit as well. Here we go. Ethan Stanley down pit lane, Wyatt.
Yeah, and this, I think, is the best call for him right now in this race. He's got to get down there, and he's got to get these new tires for the advantage as quick as possible. I don't think he's going to fix any damage, but he needs to get these tires on, and he needs to get rolling without a penalty.
I thought his right side damage was a lot worse than it actually is. Seeing him now coming down pit road does not look bad at all. Absolutely hits his marks on pit road. Right sides come up to change those tires out. He's going to get 4 fresh General tires on this number 91 Pontiac. Still looking for a sponsor, so if you want to sponsor Ethan Stanley for season number 2 of Pit Pass Network ARCA series, be sure to contact him. Ethan Stanley a lap down now. Here comes Cash James in the Pit Pass Network number 23 coming down pit road. He's looking for a bit of service, as is Dave Carpenter in his number 71 Ronster Raps Impala SS. Going back up front, I think we should be getting close to Chris Wright and co coming down pit road. Hunter Smith now coming down pit road. His Warriors for piece number 54 is ready for some attention of his pit crew, looking for some tires, some fuel. Here comes Jordan Owens as well in the JD Designs Geek Squad number 26. He is coming down again for 4 fresh General tires. Here's Mark Keeler in his Racing America number 08 machine coming down pit road. Let's see when Chris Wright comes down. Here he comes in his number 42 KMP Graphics Pit Pass Network number 42. William White in the 213simware.com machine. Check out 213simware.com to buy your William White merchandise. Jay Kaner also coming down pit road in his number 9 car. No sponsor on that thing. Hands the lead over to the race first number 69 Black Magic Design of Mark Murphy.
If you look right behind him,
leader.
Robert, there's Ethan Stanley getting his lap back already.
Here he comes, Ethan Stanley back to the race lead. Still going to be a little bit behind. He's going to have his work cut out for him here as we do wait for the next car to come down pit road. Here it is, the brawny number 45 of Brandon Ultra. Ray Bracey steps on it in the Bojo machine. He's able to gather that up. Nice job. See the Good Wrench service number 3 of Trey Holmes also on pit road. So Mark Murphy, Michael Hosek, Justin Vandermeer, David Dunwoody, and Rory Collins, the 5 cars left on the racetrack that have not come down pit road. I think Mark Murphy's setting up to come down right now. Here he comes in the Black Magic Designs race first number 69. That is Mark Murphy. New race leader is the unsponsored number 24, Michael Hosek. Still on the racetrack behind him, Justin Vandermarl in the number 05 City Chevrolet. As you see William White trying to get his lap back. 54 laps in, 47 to go here in the Kentucky 150. Waiting on Michael Hosek to come down pit road, as well as Justin Vandermarl. I think Hosek may be setting up to come down here. Yes, he is. As you can see, a little bit of backfiring there. The unsponsored number 24, City Chevrolet number 05, come down pit road. It's going to hand the lead over to the mains. Black Magic Designs number 28 of David Dunwoody, and the unsponsored number 62 of Rory Collins. There goes Cash James on the bottom, getting his lap back in his number 23 Pit Pass Network car. Nice to see some shuffling here, some real pit strategy. Is look at this mess that Bojo Bracey's in back here, trying to get through Brandon Ultra as well. Here's Trey Holmes on the high side. David Dunwoody contact with Cash James just about. He is sideways in his mains Black Magic Design 28 as he enters pit road. New leader, Rory Collins. Unsponsored machine, as I thought we had a wreck. It's just Justin Vandermeer and Michael Hosek leaving pit road. So crisis averted right there.
Robert, I was going to say, after those pit stops, we really saw who got on the pit road very well. We saw who did not get on the pit road, as we're still waiting for our leader to pit, assuming in the next couple laps.
Rory Collins still staying out there unless he's going to pull a Quinn Half here. He does not. Currently leading by 13 seconds over Ethan Stanley, who leads by about 3 seconds over Hunter Smith. Chris Wright about 6 seconds back of Stanley. So Ethan Stanley, big winner on pit road there. Able to take advantage of the pit strategy of Hunter Wright and Chris Wright. Or Hunter Smith and Chris Wright. Chris did not gain a brother here in the first 56 laps. As here comes Rory Collins, I do believe, coming down pit road this time. A lot lower than he has been. Here comes the unsponsored 62 to the attention of his crew. Move Ethan Stanley back to the race lead here, Wyatt.
Yeah, and that's huge because Chris Wright is about 5 seconds behind him now as it cycles through, and he's actually got a car between them now. And he was the leader when he took his pit stop. I mean, William White's now back to fourth as well, and I think Ethan Stanley, as long as he can save those tires, he's going to be in a great position to fight these guys off if they catch him. But we can't discount Hunter Smith by any means. I mean, he won here a couple weeks ago, not at Kentucky, but he won in the Pit Pass Network ARCA series, and we know what he can do. So it's really going to come down to how these guys manage their tire wear throughout these remaining 41 laps.
That's a great point. You know, tire wear is going to come into play, especially if we do stay green, knock on wood here, in these last 42 circuits. But Hunter Smith doing a nice job. Ethan Stanley did a great job on pit road, able to gain the race lead, 3 seconds over Hunter Smith, 4.5 over Chris Wright. So Chris Wright definitely punching his steering wheel a little bit, trying to find his way to get back up there and try to get around Hunter Smith and Ethan Stanley. But you know what, Wyatt, let's take this chance right here to make a little bit of an announcement when it comes to the Pit Pass Network ARCA series. We've had a lot of talk about season 2 of the series, and I can officially announce that we will kick that off June 13th at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So be sure to come back June 13th. Well, of course, come back in 3 weeks when we come back for round number 9, and then 2 weeks after that for the season finale. But June 13th, 2023 B season of Pit Pass Network ARCA series will kick off from Charlotte. Then we'll head to Iowa with a trip after that to Chicagoland. We'll go to Watkins Glen for a road course. Daytona after that. Kansas Speedway. We had a lot of fun there earlier this season. That is going to be round number 6 of the series. Bristol will follow that, as well as Talladega. Then we'll have a chase, a 4-race chase after that, which should be a little bit of fun. Richmond, North Wilkesboro, Auto Club, and Homestead. So that should be a really fun summer series here in the Pit Pass Network ARCA series, and I hope everyone can come back and join us. And, you know, maybe Chris Wright will pick up a win in that series next season.
Well, man, you said we're starting the season next season at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We were just there approximately 7 days ago, and that was the closest Chris has gotten to a win here this season. Just about 1.5 hundredths of a second.
It was close, man. That was my famous quote now. Chris Wright does not know how to win a race, man. Okay, right after that finish, Chris is going to get one before the end of this season. He's been so good, and too good not to, really. As you see Ethan Stanley there just ahead of David Dunwoody. If I'm Ethan Stanley, I'm going to let Dunwoody by. He has enough gap over Hunter Smith here, as well as Chris Wright, not to really have to worry about any of these lap cars and holding them off. But, I mean, of course, David has to get to him first, but 37 laps to go here in the Kentucky 150. Once again, this is the Pit Pass Network ARCA series. We're going to take another commercial break here as we just finished up all the pit cycles, probably for the evening. And we'll be back in about 2 minutes' time. Don't go anywhere.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
we are back here in the Kentucky 150 on the Elite Racing Network here in the Pit Pass Network ARCA series. You just heard from our friends at TA Services as well as iRacing.com. Of course, TA Services, one of our premier partners here at Elite alongside Blue Egg Marketing. Blue Egg is the marketing department for small businesses, small business owners. Blue Egg is your biggest fan as well. Worldwide Technology Raceway is your home for all things motorsports with a 1.25 mile oval, 2 mile drag strip, 2 mile road course, 1/4 mile drag strip. 2 mile drag strip would be crazy. 1/4 mile drag strip and a state-of-the-art karting facility known as the Kartplex. Check out Worldwide Technology Raceway today. And of course, pitpassnetwork.com, your new home for all things NASCAR. Check out pitpassnetwork.com for news, reviews, and interviews with your friends like Chris Wright, Cash James, myself, Jake Finch, Griffin Fuller, and so many others. Now, Wyatt, I'm not sure if you have our YouTube stream up here tonight, but I understand there's some talk going on about Chris Wright over there. All right, so I'm seeing from Tyler Fody, Chris Wright was informed in the team meeting prior to this race that he needs to win the race tonight. If Chris Wright does not win the race, he is going to be out of the Cup program over at Lake Norman Motorsports, likely replaced by Harrison Talon, that typically drives the number 51 for Fueled Up Racing. So that's what I'm hearing anyways. I don't know if all of that is true, but Chris Wright better step on it here. Otherwise, he's going to be out of a job.
Well, I want to make one thing known to Chris. If Harrison Talon does end up taking your ride in the Cup Series, there is a happy home for you in Fueled Up Racing. We would be welcoming you in open arms, and furthermore, you'd probably be bringing in a lot more money. So thank you very much. If that does happen to be the case, I almost don't want him to win now.
Well, you could just start cheering for him, give him a bit of the commentator's curse, and that typically works. But just taking a look,
picked him.
I did pick Chris Wright, and if he doesn't win tonight and loses his job, we're gonna see him outside the racetrack tomorrow night, just shaking a tin can, asking for some change, and being all sad and stuff, carrying his bindle. Like, come on, boys. Come on, Fody. We're going to send Ethan Burrell after you if you kick Chris out of his ride. But taking a look on the racetrack, Hunter Smith currently trailing Ethan Stanley by 0.7 of a second. Just behind him, Chris Wright, 1.3 seconds back. Chris Wright is on a heater right now. He is going like gangbusters en route to trying to catch that Ethan Stanley machine. He knows that if he wants to keep his ride, he's got to go. It is go time for Mr. C right there in the 42. You can see on the side of that car, KMP Graphics. If he don't win, he's probably going to lose that sticker. He's just going to be driving a white car next week. William White there in fourth. Jay Kaner in fifth. Just behind them, Jordan Owens, Ray Bracey, Mark Murphy, all basically under a blanket here. That is 6th through 8th. A little bit behind them, we find Cash James out by himself. Here's Brandon Ultra battling with Michael Hosek. That is 10th and 11th on the racetrack. Trey Holmes, Justin Vandermarl, and Dave's way back there. We need the binoculars for a second. Currently running 14th. 15th, David Dunwoody way back there with Mark Keeler. And Rory Collins, he's up there running with Justin and Trey just outside the top 10. One thing to point out, though, Ethan Stanley is catching David Dunwoody just ahead of him here. Chris Wright is almost 1 second back, just 1.1 seconds right now, as you see the tower tick over to 25 laps to go. Wyatt, what are your thoughts so far here, 75 laps in to the Kentucky 150?
Well, I think we have seen another fantastic race full of really clean racing, really talented drivers like we usually see. You know, we have Ethan Stanley, Chris Wright, our 2 points contenders as of now, leading this thing pretty much the whole race. And I want to talk about lap times for a second. So Ethan Stanley's last lap was a 33.2, right? I'm going to look over at Chris Wright, and Chris Wright ran a 32.99. So he is gaining multiple tenths a lap or so, and he has been since before that commercial break, since pretty much we got done with our green flag pit cycle. So this is not over by any means, and anybody watching at home right now, no, it's not over. Both the second and third place guys are in prime position to potentially catch Ethan Stanley.
Absolutely, as they are all very close to each other. Ethan Stanley just barely ahead of Hunter Smith. Just half a second is separating those two. Another 0.3 back is Chris Wright. So all three of them with a pretty good shot at taking victory here tonight.
And another thing, too, is, you know, I'm looking through the field. We're starting to get a big battle from about 9th through 13th or so. We got a lot of guys starting to form up together as these tires are starting to wear. You know, we're seeing guys like Justin Vandermeerl and Trey Holmes, Michael Hossack, Cash James. They're all in a similar spot. So with that many cars in a group like that, a caution is not unheard of late in a race. I believe we saw one last week that really shake things up as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Is actually we see Hunter Smith just about to enter a battle here with Chris Wright. Chris Wright hunting him down. He's done a fantastic job, Mr. Christophilus Wright has done since that restart. Gained a few seconds from where he was after what wasn't too great of a pit stop. And another thing again, Ethan Stanley still catching that David Dunwoody car. So that should come into play at some point. As we head to the Hunter Smith car, we're going to head into his gearbox camera. You can see that number 42 just behind Chris Wright has a little wiggle. But Chris known to like to wiggle just a little bit. Mr. Wiggleman right there, just like a worm. As we see Hunter Smith trying to hold him off. Mark Keeler just off in the distance there, doing his thing back in 16th on the racetrack right now. 0.6 of a second is separating the top three at this point. Just over 0.1 of a second separating Hunter Smith and Chris Wright. That should be very hot here in a second. Chris Wright looking to the bottom of Hunter Smith, not able to get there at this point. 19 laps to go. It is Ethan Stanley leading. Ethan's done a hell of a job this season trying to lead as many laps as he can, pick up as many victories as he can, and he has been fairly dominant in elite action here in 2023.
Yeah, he's had an absolute hot streak since the top of the year, and you know, the question is what's going to take it to stop him. And Chris Wright in this series has been kind of the answer as far as point standing goes. Ethan's still out there winning races, but Chris is finishing so consistent that he doesn't have the points lead that Chris has. And you know, one thing I want to make a note of here, a couple laps ago, Mark Murphy in the 69 car did mention there was quite a bit of debris on the track. I don't think race control is going to see it. It might be a figment of his, or a figure of his.
I don't think we have any debris. I did receive a question here from some of the Pit Pass Network crew that was asking what a banner violation is and why Cash James continues to get them. So what I'm going to show you now is, as you can see up here, just at the top of the windshield rail for the 69 of Mark Murphy, he does have Pit Pass Network across his banner. As we look at the Cash James number 23, he does not. So because he does not have the proper series contingencies, he is subject to an end of the longest line penalty at the beginning of the race, which is what happened to him and multiple other cars, which really sets them back. It's not too hard to put a banner on your car. So, you know, especially being the series sponsor, we'd think maybe Cash James would get his stuff together, but I guess not. As we see Ethan Stanley, oh, Cash James coming to pit road. Maybe he's coming to get a banner.
Oh, he might just be too, but I think it's a little too late to avoid that EOL penalty. Tough break for Cash, having to come back down.
Oh, what just happened there? Hunter Smith is your race leader here. Ethan Stanley just lost the top spot. Chris Wright side by side with Ethan Stanley for second. Hunter Smith is your new race leader. Let's see if we can back that up just a little bit and see the initial pass for the lead. Watching the 54 of Hunter here. Go ahead, Wyatt, walk us through this.
Let's say Ethan Stanley gets real low, almost touches the apron. I don't think he actually gets to it. Actually, he might have. It starts to turn him a little bit. He goes to correct it, and he just goes in that four-wheel drift up out of the corner, losing all momentum. It's going to make it pretty easy for Hunter Smith to get around him that way on the high side on the front stretch.
That was a great call on that one. Oh, he's stepping out again. But the thing to point out is a moment like that could have been game-changing. I mean, it was for Ethan Stanley and now Hunter Smith. Is Hunter Smith able to get the lead? But had Ethan Stanley completely stepped... Oh, Hunter Smith sideways right there. Okay, Chris, your turn to get sideways here. I know your job is on the line, but you got to put on a show, buddy. As Chris Wright goes to the race lead, Ethan Stanley goes to the rear of Hunter Smith. One thing I want to do is give a shout out to Jonathan Cutlip, our race controller tonight. He has not had to say a single word to us all evening long. He had the one penalty call out earlier this evening to the Robert Higgins machine, but that is absolutely it. 13 laps remaining. Chris Wright, your race leader over Hunter Smith. Ethan Stanley right there. 2.5 seconds back is William White. Then it's another 5 seconds back to Jay Kaner. Mark Murphy there in 6th. Jordan Owens 7th. Ray Bracey 8th. Trey Holmes in 9th. Michael Hosick in 10th. Trying to hold off Justin Vandermarl. Brandon Ultra 12th. David Carpenter 13th. David Dunwoody 14th. Mark Keeler 15th. Rory Collins 16th. Cash James and Robert Higgins have called it a night here. Not sure what happened to Cash James, but maybe he got lost at the banner store. 11 laps remaining here. Chris Wright is your race leader.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the track right now, Robert, and I see only potentially one car of lap traffic, and that's going to be the 71 of David Carpenter. I don't know if they'll get there to him or not, but he would be the closest. He's about 5 to 6 seconds ahead of him right now. So we'll have to see if they catch him. That could be a huge game changer as well with how close these guys are coming to the final 10 laps.
Just 10 laps remaining. Chris Wright is your race leader right now over what is Hunter Smith in the 54, as well as the 91 of Ethan Stanley. Stanley was your leader, but unfortunately for him, his car decided to step out and go for a bit of a slide. Hunter Smith had the same experience as these guys come around to get 9 laps to go. One thing you have to wonder here is Hunter Smith ready to make that pass? Their lap times virtually the same as we change the tower over to the lap times. Top 3 all running basically the same lap time. Chris Wright a 0.34, while Hunter Smith and Ethan Stanley both ran a 0.32. So equally the same lap times. Here comes Hunter Smith to the bottom of Chris Wright. Hunter Smith looking to take the race lead here.
Yeah, and it looks like Chris is just slightly missing the bottom, which is actually costing him quite a bit of time through the corner. Hunter Smith might be able to make the move here back into 1.
Yeah, Hunter Smith very close as we are 8 laps to go here. He is trying to strategically make a pass on the 42. Doesn't want to go too soon. Doesn't want to go too late. But Hunter Smith, I think, right now just has a little bit of a better car than Chris Wright in the 42. Hopefully, for Chris's sake, this isn't another side-by-side to the line sort of deal where he comes out on the losing end of that. 7 to go. Chris Wright, your leader over Hunter Smith here at Kentucky Speedway. This is the Pit Pass Network ARCA series. My name's Robert Hill Jr. That is Wyatt the Candle Knadle, all the way from Idaho.
No one calls me that. No, not a single person has ever called me that, Robert, but I like the nickname. Thank you very much.
Wyatt Kentucky Knadle right here in the booth. Trey Holmes side by side with Bojo. Look at Bojo Bracey here in 8th. Trey Holmes in 9th on the high side. chasing down Jordan Owens. We're going to go back up front, though. Chris Wright holding off Hunter Smith. 6 to go at Kentucky. Let's ride a lap on board with Hunter Smith as he looks to try to get by Chris Wright here.
There's just a reminder here that this is not bump drafting. You know, you can't do that in these cars, but let alone this isn't Daytona either. He's going to dive it low here.
Yeah, Hunter Smith goes to the bottom of Chris Wright. Like you mentioned, no bump drafting in this car. If you put your bumper to the rear end of another ARCA car, you're just going to go right under him. He's going to go up in the air, and you're probably going to get called with a tally, especially if you are to do that on purpose. Chris Wright is able to hold on to the lead. 5 to go. He's got to start thinking about making this car a little bit wider here. He has to cut off those runs of Hunter Smith. Hunter Smith looking to the bottom. Chris Wright keeps giving him a look on entry, but not able to do it. Coming to 4 to go. It is Chris Wright over Hunter Smith. Hunter Smith getting close to that rear bumper of the Pit Pass Network number 42 of Chris Wright. Ethan Stanley about 4/10 back of the race leader, 3/10 off of Hunter Smith. So he is not necessarily in the picture right now for this race victory, but just about anything can happen. Of course, Hunter Smith and Chris Wright are going to pick it up with just 3 laps and a bit to go here. Chris Wright coming around to 3. Lake Norman Motorsports currently biting their lips right now, hoping that their guy can get it done. Hunter Smith looks to the bottom. We're going to go up to the blimp cam. Here's the 54 on the inside of the 42. Hunter Smith currently scored as your race leader. Chris Wright saying no thank you as he comes back on the high side. He is not able to get there. Looks like Hunter Smith may get the upper edge here down into turn number 3. Coming to 2 to go. Hunter Smith, your race leader. Chris Wright has to get back down to the bottom. Set him up for a pass. Here comes Chris Wright on the high side.
Oh, look at that
nearly
move.
make contact right there. Able to cut a little bit of the air off. Chris Wright scored a race leader with 2 to go here ahead of Hunter Smith. Hunter Smith gets back in line. We're going to go to the nose. Actually, here comes Ethan Stanley back into the picture. This is what Chris Wright needs right here, is Ethan Stanley and Hunter Smith to battle. If they can battle, Chris Wright has an opportunity to try to pull away. Coming to 1 lap to go. It is Chris Wright. He's been in this spot before, and it has not gone his way. Chris Wright, KMP Graphics, PitPassNetwork.com, number 42 for Lake Norman Motorsports. Come to the line. White flag in the air. This will be another caution-free race here in the Pit Pass Network ARCA Series. These guys doing a great job, making us look pretty darn good. Chris leaves the bottom open to Hunter Smith. Tyler Fode getting absolutely livid, throwing pencils, throwing clipboards. Soon he's going to be throwing Chris Wright if things don't go well. Chris Wright on the high side. He has to try to cut off Hunter Smith here. Hunter Smith to the bottom. Chris Wright still up on the high side. Back up to the blimp cam. Here comes Chris Wright with a run. Hunter Smith. Oh my God, he's going to get it done. Here we go. Chris Wright, Lake Norman Motorsports, number 42, gets it done, saves his cup ride. Chris Wright finally victorious in the Pit Pass Network ARCA Series. I cannot wait to talk to him, Wyatt.
No, I bet you can't. I definitely can't wait to hear from him either. You know, Hunter Smith, he was there right there on the white flag lap, and you know that driver etiquette really showed. He had the opportunity to put the bumper to him, decided not to. Still going to come home with 2nd. Ethan Stanley 3rd, of course, but
wow. What a
phenomenal
finish
ending
for Chris Wright, man. We got to watch this because he's going to burn this thing down. You know he is.
Well, he could have about 6 times this season, so you better make it worth all 6.
I hope he knows how to do burnouts. Fody, did you teach him how to do burnouts?
He
Let
might
us
have
know in the
forgotten.
comments.
Oh,
I don't think he knows how to do it.
he's scared. He's nervous.
He's just sitting there, man. He don't know what to do. He's just like, do I get out of the car? Is Regan Smith going to come out and talk to me? There he goes.
Oh, there we go.
He just did a driver swap. Tyler Fode behind the wheel doing the burnout now. Chris Wright didn't know how to do it here at Kentucky. Was able to get it done, though, as we do see our 3rd place finisher, Ethan Stanley, in the waiting room. He is standing by for his 3rd place interview with Wyatt Knadle.
Ethan Stanley, man, it's Wyatt in the booth. You got a copy? Ethan Stanley, Wyatt in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, look, it's not a win, uh, but you're in third place again. You're on the podium again. You're still in this hunt. It's gonna get a little more difficult now with just 2 races remaining, man. How did your race go?
A little bit disappointed. Just couldn't keep the tires on the car. Had a really hard time with, the right rear and just sliding around. But yeah, I was able to keep it in third. Tried to go for second place at the end there, but just didn't have enough.
And it seemed like you three plus William White and a little bit of Jay Kaner for a while. You three up front at the end of this thing really showed the speed all night. You got up there, got loose a couple times. We saw you in the wall, I think, briefly, kind of before pit stops, or extremely loose at least. And you short pitted, man. Tell me if you thought if you pitted any different that it could have changed the outcome of this race for you.
I mean, it might have. I would have had to push a little bit harder, but really, I just couldn't save on my second run, and yeah, they just ended up getting by me, and I wasn't able to get past. Once they got to me, I don't know. I think their tires started to fall off a little bit, but they just had the tires on me.
And it seemed like once those tires wore, you guys were just slipping and sliding out there. And I bet it was fun to drive, but it's never fun to lose the lead, man. So, can't be too upset about third, but, you got 2 races left to catch Chris. And he finally got his first win. He broke the ice. So do you think that's something you can do?
It's just going to depend on, how he finishes. He's, I think, 13 points ahead of me or 14 points ahead of me at this point. Yeah, he's going to have some bad results in order for me to wrap up this championship, but I think he's got a good chance at winning it.
Absolutely. And before we let you go, Ethan, do you have anybody you want to shout out tonight?
Oh, yeah, big shout out to One Up Games and Repairs, based in Bay City, Michigan, and Saginaw, Michigan. Go there for your video game and electronics repair needs. Big shout out to you guys as well for making this broadcast happen, and everybody in Elite that organized all this and got it to where we are now.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. But thank you very much for joining us in the booth, Ethan, and congratulations on your 3rd place finish.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Wyatt, that was Ethan Stanley, our 3rd place finisher here tonight. Standing by with you is Hunter Smith. I'm going to give you this interview. I want to talk to Chris Wright when he gets to victory lane. We'll both talk to him, but here's Hunter Smith, your runner-up tonight.
Hunter Smith, Wyatt in the booth. You got a copy, man?
How we doing?
Good, man. We had a blast watching this thing. How'd it feel driving it tonight?
Felt great. It was sweaty, that's for sure. Chris, yeah, he was really smart. He ran his tires really well.
Yeah, and we saw you kind of flirting with that top 3 all night, and then once the green flag pit stops came, you were pretty much up there the rest of the way. But coming to the end of that thing with about 10 laps to go, you guys were all getting nose to tail, and we saw Ethan get loose and you get around him, and then we saw you get loose. And we're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? It's now Chris's turn. But talk to me about those final 10 or 15 laps or so and how fun it was driving this car or what you saw on the track and whatnot.
Nobody wanted to lead that race at the end, that's for sure. Chris took advantage of it, though. He gave me the inside consistently. And with the thing about these cars, they have no horsepower right now. So that runoff 4, there's no way you can get anybody on the inside. But you can set someone up for a pass on turn 1, which I tried multiple times. But yeah, there's no way I'm going to barrel roll my way in there and wreck him like that. He ran a great race, and so did Ethan. Honestly, I was shocked Ethan was able to keep up with us with how old his tires were.
Absolutely. And, when you and Chris were side by side with just, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 to go, it looked like you had him cleared for just maybe a second off of turn 2. Did your spotter call you clear? Do you think you could have moved up to block him or anything like that? Or do you think he was still there, could have caused a big crash or something?
I would say he's still there. The outside line has so much more momentum here. I mean, if I were to pin him, I think he probably would turn me into the wall. I know he's a good clean racer, but anyone who would put that in a situation, I wouldn't expect him to keep me looking straight, at least.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more myself. Do you think there's anything else you could have done to possibly win this thing? And that would have been your second win of the season too.
Honestly, I don't think so. I overcut him by 1 lap on purpose just because I knew I needed to get out of the pits in order for me to be able to catch up. But honestly, there's nothing I could do. He had me outpaced all race. His tires came alive just as good as mine did. So, the rest of Chris on that one.
Absolutely, Chris ran a good race. But Hunter, before we let you go, do you have anybody you want to shout out or say hi to since you're on the broadcast here again tonight?
Well, sure do appreciate you guys putting this one on, and of course to my sponsor, Warriors for Peace. So they've been on the car, and they're going to stay on the car. They're good supporters, and yeah, continue getting these podiums for Little Eagle Racing. So thank you.
Absolutely, Hunter. Congratulations on second place tonight.
Wyatt, that was Hunter Smith, our runner-up finisher here tonight. But we are about to go down to the man of the hour. Finally, he became a man here. It is Chris Wright, your race winner here tonight. Chris, 8 starts, 7 top 5s, 6 podium finishes. Finally, you get to the top step. How good does it feel right now, buddy?
It was a fun race, first of all. You know, to finally win the thing, like you said. We've been consistently here all season. And finally closed it out. So those that group of guys that's been giving me a hard time, yourself included, we finally found victory lane.
I was just supporting you. That's all that was, Chris. No hard time, of course. Well, maybe just a little bit. You were actually my pick to win tonight, so it finally went the proper way. No jinx there. But I do have to ask you, I heard that there was a big team meeting with Lake Norman before the race tonight. You were told if you did not get it done tonight, you would not have a cup seat as of tomorrow. How big of a factor was that into your success here tonight?
Well, I was not a part of any such meeting, so if that happened, I wasn't there.
Well,
I was just told, I was just asked, you know, hey, is tonight going to be the night? We're tuning in. We're going to be there. And all the boys, you know, they give me a hard time, but we've been consistent. And man, finally to win and to hear of all places, I didn't think in practice I had the speed to do much, but then none of those guys backed their laps up in qualifying, and we qualified pretty decent, took off in the race. And once again, I didn't have the short run pace, but over the long run, I was really well taking care of my right front, taking care of my right rear. And I think the only other guy at the end of the first run that was doing the same was Hunter Smith there. And I got to give a big kudos to him and Ethan there. We all raced really hard for that, and we all raced really, really clean. So it was a lot of fun. But when we got to Ethan, I didn't expect him to have a 5-second lead on the other side of pit stops. It was just a couple laps. But I felt like Hunter and I kind of stabilized. I didn't know if we could pass him, and then Ethan had his big slide, and I was content at that point with second. I didn't think I'd had enough to pass Hunter. And then Hunter had a big slide, and I got in front of him, and I got tied there the last couple laps, and they were sliding. So I think that just allowed me to be consistent with what I was doing, and they would have a really good corner and make up some ground, and then they would have a bad corner, and it would basically break even. So big kudos to Hunter, though. He could have drove into 3 and used us up and took us out, and he didn't. So to be able to run down there side by side and not have any contact was a lot of fun. Another flag-to-flag race here. I think that's the only Elite Series that can do that, and we've done it, 3 or 4 times. So
yeah,
to be able
this
to
is
run
the third
caution-free
one.
yeah, caution-free, have a green flag stop, and no issues. Now, I will say tonight, you know, the car count wasn't there that it had been the rest of those races, but nonetheless, it was a great race. The track was really good. The car drove pretty well. You could abuse the tires. You could move around and find a different line. So it was a lot of fun.
I'm glad you had a lot of fun, and I'm glad you finally got it done, Chris. You know, it felt like it was just going to be a deja vu situation here again tonight where Hunter Smith was going to pass you, beat you right at the line, and and you were going to come home second again. So I can just imagine the excitement in your car when you finally got it done, maybe even a sense of relief coming across the line first. But I'm going to hand it over to Wyatt Knadle, see if he has any questions for you here. It's been a pleasure watching you this season, obviously my broadcast partner Monday nights, so I always enjoy watching you succeed here on Tuesdays, and finally got it done, Chris.
Yeah, Chris, hi, it's Wyatt here. I know we don't talk a whole lot, but no, man, I just, there was rumors going on throughout this race. If you didn't win this thing, with all the money they put in that car tonight, and all the opportunities you've had this season in the Pit Pass Network ARCA series, there was rumors that there was already another driver lined up, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. The driver that was lined up pretty much all but pen to paper with 3 to go was Harrison Talon to take over that 42 in the Cup Series. I was wondering if I can get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, like I said, that's the first time hearing of it. And like Bob Robert said there, it wasn't so much excitement in the car. It was just finally. We had lost these races so many different ways, whether it was something I did, the pit calls, a couple late yellows, some things just not going our way. And after last week, I tell you, this last week has been pretty tough, losing the way we did at Charlotte there by about, 3 inches. So the guys were giving me quite the hard time back at Lake Norman, but I want to give a shout out to all the guys at Lake Norman. Fody, Gavel, Nick Massey, I'm Josh Robin. I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out over there at Lake Norman, but all those guys have been so much fun to work with, and Kwame, all those guys have been so much fun to race with and work with. And as far as the Cup side goes, with the way the next gen car is, and a lot of the changes you can make that you can't make in this car. This car I've been on an island maybe a little bit by myself. So shout out to all those guys. Of course, Pit Pass Network, they sponsor the car, sponsor the series. It's a great series. I can't wait for it to come back. I don't know if I'll be allowed to come back next year, but it's been a lot of fun to be part of the original Pit Pass Network series. And of course, Kendall No Player designed the car, the great looking 42 machine. It's all done by Kendall here in the Pit Pass Network series. And of course, you guys at Elite, Dave Huckleberry, I know how it works from the other side when you're broadcasting, and all those guys put in a lot of time and effort, especially Dave, making sure everything's done right. And then of course, Chad for all the different series he runs, and had Xfinity cars last night, ARCA tonight, got a Cup race tomorrow night. Busy schedule, and it all goes off without a hitch for the most part, and that's because of everything that Chad and Dave are able to do to get everything lined up.
Absolutely, Chris. I just want to say congratulations to you as well. We have been on the call for too many of your second place finishes this season. In fact, all of them. And I'm just happy for you, man. Congratulations on finally getting one. It seemed like you were inching your way closer and closer every race. Every second place seemed a little bit closer. And last week, I think it was just over 100th of a second at the finish. And now, you've got the win. So now you got to go out and win by at least a second now. That's the rules, right?
No, we're just going to try to win the championship. Ethan's up here too consistently. He's had a couple bad races that we didn't have, so that's where the spread in the points is. But I never lost sight of the fact that there's a bigger prize out here as far as the championship than the race wins. So it never got to me too bad, finishing second or third, because I knew consistently, running up there was going to give us a shot to win the title. And we, like I said, we came into tonight as the point leader. So, we might not have won, but we'd been there. It was finally to win. Yeah, it gets the monkey off your back, and we'll move along. And now we got 3 weeks to think about Phoenix, and then a couple weeks to think about Iowa as we spread out these races here at the end of the season. But one quick shout-out that I did not give there in all my shout-outs was Josh Adams. He was on the pit box tonight, letting me know what was going on and just helping me decide when to pit. The input that Josh was giving me there obviously helped out a little bit, just enough, right? Went from second last week without Josh to winning the thing this week, so he was worth at least 3 inches out there.
There we go. Josh Adams is the 3-inch man that got Chris Wright the win. Congratulations, Chris, on your victory here in the Pit Pass Network ARCA series, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Yes, sir. See you tomorrow night at Dover. Wyatt, that was Chris Wright, finally a race winner here in the Pit Pass Network ARCA series, narrowly beating Hunter Smith and Ethan Stanley. William White, Jake Kaner rounding out the top 5, Mark Murphy, Trey Holmes, Justin Vandermarl, Jordan Owens, and Ray Bracey, the top 10. Wyatt, final thoughts from you here at Kentucky?
Just great driving in general, man. We got another completely green race. That's 3 of our... Let's see, this race 8, correct? Yeah, race 8. 3 of our 8 completely green. I know we have a handful of them too that are also under 3 cautions, and it's just awesome to see. It's great to see every week, to see pure racing and no outside influences, guys using their heads and things like that and actually working their cars for their finishes.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more there, Wyatt. It's been great to see the series develop the way it has. 3 caution-free races is always nice, especially in just 8 races. That's pretty phenomenal. But we will be back in 3 weeks' time, of course, at Old Phoenix. So Legacy Phoenix is the site of race number 9, the penultimate race here in the first season of the Pit Pass Network ARCA series. Of course, we have to thank pitpassnetwork.com as well as Blue Lake Marketing, T Services, and Worldwide Technology Raceway. We have to thank Dave Huckleberry as well as Chad Frankfield, Jonathan Cutlip, Josh Personette, yourself, and the rest of the administrative team here. Of course, everyone that has tuned in at home. Congratulations to Chris Wright and Lake Norman, finally victors here in the Pit Pass Network ARC series. And of course, we would like to once again say thank you to everyone that tuned in here tonight. My name is Robert Hill Jr. Joining me as always was Wyatt Knadle. And this, of course, has been a presentation of the Elite Racing Network. We'll be right back here tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for JoinAPS.com Cup Series live from Dover. We will see you then.